What's up? This is Tom, and we are going to be talking about 5 Twins topics of discussion that I think are interesting talkers right now that I have some opinions on. Want to get out there and get your opinions as well, so let me know what you think. First off, Jhoan Duran. Jhoan Duran got his first career save last night, looked really good in a great 2-1 victory over Baltimore. So what is this guy's role going forward? A lot of people are asking, hey, is he going to start someday? Other people are saying, hey, he should be the closer. I actually love how they've used him so far. Have him close sometimes, sure, but have him be a weapon to be a potentially a multi-inning weapon out of the bullpen. Have him potentially coming into games earlier in the game. It puts chains on a reliever when you make him the closer, because then it's like you're waiting to use him. And a lot of the time, especially if you don't have a great bullpen, which I think, even though the Twins bullpen has performed pretty darn well, I wouldn't say it's a great bullpen. When that's the case, I don't think you want to take your better guys and put them at the end game and wait for them, because you might not get to them. Your secondary bullpen guys might not be good enough to hold those leads to get to your closer. So I love this kind of, it's stressful for a manager to try to work a bullpen like this that's really fluid. So I can understand if Rocco wants to kind of get a closer set, but I like the way that they've done it so far, and hope they continue to use Duran, in multiple different scenarios out of the bullpen. But still, very encouraging to see him handle his first save opportunity well. Looked great. Looked completely unbothered is how I would explain his whole major league career so far. There's really nothing that seems to shake that guy. Second one, this was more of a discussion about a week or so ago. Carlos Correa kind of mentioned that he'd be open to staying in Minnesota long term, which kind of sparked some conversation of a potential extension and what that might look like. I'm not really rushing into an extension if I'm the Twins. I like the way that they have things structured right now. I was never one of the people who thought that Correa was for sure gone after this year. It's a lot of money to walk away from, for him to opt out after this season. I could see him coming back in 2023 for sure. And now after that, with only 1 year on the deal, I think there is a very, very, very small chance that he stays for the full 3 years they have him now. But there just doesn't seem to be any urgency in rushing in. If he opts out, it's because you got an amazing year out of him, and he thinks that money on the table is that he can get more. That's a great story. I mean, how often is it that you pay a free agent basically what you feel like they're worth? Usually you have to super overpay a free agent. So if he opts out, that's not the worst thing in the world that happens. That means he had a great year. And oh, by the way, the Twins can still try to sign him again. They're going to have to compete with the other 29 teams, but it's not like he's completely out. But I just look at all of these long-term deals that guys have, and they all make me a little bit nervous. Marcus Semien is kind of the easy guy to target right now. He's already 31, and Carlos Correa is only 27. Semien is off to a poor start with Texas, who signed him to a huge contract. Even after this year, they owe him $150 million over the next 6 seasons after this year. So even if Semien, which I expect him to turn around, even if he does, still at 31 years old now, they still owe him that much money. That's the kind of money that Carlos Correa should be seeking. I don't think that the Twins should be rushing to get involved into something like that. That's just my take on it. I like the way that they have that structured right now. Next topic on the 6-man rotation and what to do with Josh Winder. I mean, everything is coming up Twins right now. Obviously, they're on this hot streak of winning, but also so many individual performers are really turning in very, very optimal performances, and Josh Winder is one of them. In his first career MLB start, he looked great. And, Bailey Ober being on the injured list creates an opportunity. However, Sonny Gray is going to be coming off the injured list before too long. He pitched very well in his rehab outing for Fort Myers. So what should the Twins do when Gray comes back? A lot of the time, these things seem to figure themselves out. Maybe another guy in the rotation will go down in between now and Sonny Gray coming back, and then Josh Winder can just continue on in the rotation. However, let's just play it out and say that doesn't happen, and they either have to go with a 6-man rotation or do something else with Josh Winder. It's going to be difficult to have a 6-man rotation, more difficult than it was previously because, of course, we just trimmed down from 28-man rosters to 26. So basically, in carrying another rotation guy, you're either going to have to carry one less bench player in your lineup or one less bullpen guy. So it's not that easy to do. I think they should try it, though. They should try to continue with this six-man rotation. Don't mess with what's working. Clearly, the Twins are getting an incredible performance out of their rotation so far, of which none of us really expected. If you did, hey, tip of the cap to you, but I don't think anybody really expected the Twins to pitch well, this well in particular. And, if this is what's working, why mess with it? Clearly, there's some success. So I would personally keep that. And, with Sonny Gray coming back from injury, it's not like he's going to be completely stretched out anyway. So that kind of maybe helps him with the six-man rotation, having that extra day. And Chris Archer hasn't been going deep either, so maybe that kind of helps him come along. So I think there's, it may put more stress on the bullpen. And, again, roster-wise, it may be hard to fit, but I really would love to see Josh Winder stay in the rotation and then continue to have a six-man rotation going forward when that happens. Next topic I wanted to discuss is another guy, Sonny Gray coming back. Alex Kirilloff is also on the comeback path on a rehab assignment. He should be ready to come up anytime now, playing for the Saints. Looking pretty good. No need to get too deep into the performance-wise. I don't think his stats have been that good, but it's only been a couple games. And I think he's drawn a ton of walks, too. But the wrist is feeling good so far. That's the big news. So what's going to happen with that? Because Trevor Larnach has really been playing well in his absence. So, you'd think that left field position is kind of Kirilloff's to lose. Are you going to send Larnach back down? Can they coexist on the roster? That's kind of been the thought process with them ever since Larnach was drafted pretty much. So you've got these two power-hitting corner outfielders who hit left-handed. We already have Max Kepler, who's a corner outfielder who hits left-handed in-house long-term. Like, how is this all going to look? That's still kind of the case today, and, that reason is why Kyle Garlick fits in so nicely into this team, but of course he is on the IL. Another guy on the IL is Miguel Sanó, so that does create an opportunity potentially for Alex Kirilloff to swing over to first base, where he looks really good at first base and play there. On Miguel Sanó, we don't know the extent or the severity of his knee injury yet. He is on the injured list. He may need surgery. We'll probably find that out very soon. Potentially by the time I get this video posted, we'll have some more information. So I think that's kind of the main avenue to where those guys should be able to coexist on the big club, especially with Garlick out as well. But we'll see how that goes. I do think Larnach should stay on the big club when Alex rejoins the team, whenever that happens. Should be sometime soon. But that rolls into my final discussion, is Luis Arraez and his position, his role on this team. With Miguel Sanó being out, Arraez is expected to get, right now, kind of the lion's share of first base opportunities. The Twins did promote Jose Miranda, who has quite a bit of first base experience over the last 2 years in particular. So I expect him to play. They've been sitting Arraez against left-handed pitching. I don't necessarily think that's really required. His numbers aren't great overall against left-handed pitching, but he does have a pretty good on-base percentage against lefties, Arraez does. And he's always going to give you a good plate appearance. So I don't think he's a guy you feel like you can't use against lefties. But certainly if Miranda's around, it makes more sense to play him at first against lefties. But we'll see how that works out. But my kind of big picture here, there's the Sanó situation. This is creating a great opportunity for who takes it, who knows. But Arraez, Miranda, Kirilloff are all going to have a great opportunity to get some extra time at first base while however long Miguel Sano's out. But outside of that conversation, I did want to kind of just touch on, where do we think Luis Arraez is going to play long term? I think his best position is second base. I think most people would agree with that. But obviously, Jorge Polanco is great there, and he's around long term. My trust in Arraez at third base has really diminished. He's not looked good there. I don't know if he's just trying to rush so much over there and kind of cheat on the plays or what's going on. But yeah, I actually would feel better about playing him in left field again than third base, just to kind of put into context how uneasy I feel with Arraez at third. And also Gio Urshela's looked pretty good over there as well. And you have Miranda. Even though I don't think Miranda's up for good, this is probably more of a cup of coffee, more of a cameo appearance for him for the Twins. We'll see. But I would, again, injuries are always kind of creating bigger opportunities all the time. Maybe somebody in the lineup gets hurt and that allows Miranda to stick around. I certainly think he's ready. This is actually he's been ready. So I don't want to make it sound like I don't think he's ready for it. I'm just curious to see how long the opportunities are there for, especially if Kirilloff returns. But Luis Arraez, he certainly doesn't fit the traditional profile of a DH. Does not fit the traditional build of a first baseman. I mean, he's not as short as maybe you would imagine. He's 5'10", or at least listed at 5'10". So a shorter first baseman for sure, but it's not like he's completely looks out ridiculous out there at first. He's actually looked pretty good playing first base defensively as well. But again, just his profile is very non-traditional for a first base DH type guy. Second base just isn't going to be there with Polanco around. I don't know. I don't know what I would say that Luis Arraez's long-term position with this team is. And maybe it's just what it's been, these last few years, wherever kind of it fits, I'm glad that they're trying him there because that's the logical spot for him on this team right now. So I would say that's probably what we can expect out of Luis Arraez going forward for however long. It's not going to be where Luis is most comfortable. It's not going to be where, his optimal position to play necessarily. It's going to be wherever he makes the most sense. So thanks for tuning in. Just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out on those topics. Again, no live stream this week because the Twins are playing all-night games. But I did want to chat about some of the big picture stuff because doing the recaps, just kind of relaying info, not a whole lot of these big picture conversations going on. So thanks for checking this out. We'll talk again soon.